When Damon West first walked into prison, the lesson didn't come from a book or from a mentor sitting across from him. It came from silence. Think about that. Silence. Not the comfortable kind of silence where you're sitting on the porch with a friend watching the sun go down. I'm talking about a silence so heavy you can feel it pressing against your chest. He noticed it the moment he stepped in. Every eye in the room could size you up before you even opened your mouth. And here's the kicker. Sometimes saying the wrong word wasn't just awkward, it was dangerous. In that world, every word had weight. Every sentence had a price tag attached to it. Now, what does that have to do with you and me outside of prison walls? Everything. Because here's what Damon learned, and here's what most of us forget. Confidence in communication doesn't start with what you say, it starts with what you don't. Silence isn't weakness. Silence is strategy. In prison, Damon realized that silence could save you from escalating a fight. It could save you from looking desperate. It could protect your dignity in a place that wanted to strip it from you. And outside, silence can do the same. How many of us panic when there's silence in a conversation? We rush to fill it. We apologize. We talk faster. We repeat ourselves. We dump words into the space like it's a fire we have to smother. And what happens? The more we talk, the less power our words actually have. But Damon's reality taught him the opposite. Silence creates power. Silence shows restraint. Silence makes people lean in. And when you finally do speak, people pay attention because you haven't been burning their ears with filler. Think about it. The people you look up to at work, the leaders, the ones everyone pays attention to, they're not the ones constantly talking. They're the ones who choose their words with precision. They let silence work for them. They give their words weight because they don't hand them out cheaply. That's what Damon learned. Walking those prison yards, the shock of silence is realizing it's not empty space, it's loaded space. And the one who controls it controls the room. So the first step in improving your communication isn't learning how to say more. It's learning how to say less and mean more. It's giving silence a seat at the table and letting it do some of the talking for you. And I'll tell you this, if Damon can learn that in one of the most hostile, dangerous environments on earth, then you and I can learn it in our workplace meetings, our arguments at home, our conversations with friends. That silence you're afraid of, that's not the moment you're losing power. That's the moment you're gaining it. Here's the second lesson Damon took from prison, and I want you to really let this one hit. He had to learn to listen like his life depended on it. Because in that world, it actually did. He had to listen not just to what people said, but to how they said it, the tone, the pacing, the body language that followed. He had to catch the words that weren't being spoken, because often those were the most important ones. Let me put it like this outside of prison. If you miss the tone in someone's words, maybe you just sound a little awkward. Inside prison, if Damon missed the tone in someone's words, he could end up in a fight he never wanted or on the wrong side of someone's respect. So he sharpened his listening. He trained himself to pick up on the details most of us ignore, because in there, listening was survival. Now, here's where it gets powerful for you. You may not be walking those same halls Damon walked, but in your world, listening is survival too. Survival of your relationships, survival of your opportunities, survival of your influence. The truth, most people don't listen. They hear enough to reply, not enough to understand. They're rehearsing their response while you're still talking. They're waiting for their turn instead of actually hearing what you mean. And when they do that, they lose connection. They lose influence. Damon figured out what we all need to figure out. When you listen deeply, you gain an edge. People feel seen. They feel respected. And when people feel that, they trust you. And when they trust you, you have influence. Think about the last conversation you had where someone really listened to you, not nodded absent-mindedly, not checked their phone while you were speaking, really listened. You walked away from that feeling lighter, like your words mattered, like you mattered. That's what Damon practiced every single day. Listening wasn't passive, it was active. He listened with his eyes, with his posture, with his silence, because every signal told the other person, I hear you, I see you, you matter. And let me tell you something, outside prison, that's rare. So when you do it, when you really listen, you stand out, you become the person people want to talk to. You become the person people trust. Listening like your life depends on it might sound dramatic, but Damon's proof it's not, because whether you're trying to stay safe in a prison yard or trying to build trust in a conference room, the principle is the same. Listening is the most underrated power move in communication. So here's the challenge: stop listening just to reply. Start listening to understand. Make people feel heard. Make them feel respected. Do that, and I promise you'll communicate with a confidence most people never even tap into. Damon told me something once that stopped me in my tracks. He said, Jefferson, in prison, you learn quick. If you react, you lose. If you respond, you win. That's not just a catchy phrase. That was survival. Because every day inside, someone was testing him, bumping his shoulder, calling him out, pushing him, daring him to explode. And if he reacted, if he gave in to that instant fire inside of him, he wasn't just risking his pride, he was risking his safety. See, a reaction is automatic. It's raw emotion coming out before your brain has even had time to catch up. Somebody insults you, you snap back. Somebody challenges you, you raise your voice. Somebody cuts you off in traffic, and before you even think, you're honking, you're yelling, you're losing control. And that's exactly what a reaction is, losing control. But a response, that's intentional. A response is when you pause, take a breath, and choose your next words or actions with clarity. A response doesn't mean you're weak. It doesn't mean you're letting people walk all over you. It means you're the one driving, not your emotions. Damon had to learn this fast, because in prison, everyone's watching. If you react, they know they can pull your strings. They know they can control you. They own you. But if you respond, calm, measured, steady, you shift the power back in your hands. You show them you're not someone who can be controlled like a puppet. Now, let's bring that into your world. How many of us lose opportunities, lose respect, or lose influence because we're too busy reacting? Your boss criticizes your work, and instead of hearing the feedback, you react defensively. Your partner brings up an issue, and instead of listening, you react with an argument. A colleague gets the promotion you wanted, and you react with bitterness instead of responding with focus on your own growth. Reacting feels good in the moment, but it costs you long term. Responding, on the other hand, is what leaders do. Leaders don't chase every insult. They don't explode at every inconvenience. They choose their battles. They measure their tone. They communicate from a place of calm strength, not from a place of emotional chaos. Let me give you a practical picture. Imagine you're in a meeting and someone interrupts you mid-sentence. You've got two choices. You can react, snap at them, get louder, try to dominate the room. That feels good for about 10 seconds until people see you as combative, insecure, or out of control. Or you can respond. You pause, let the silence sit, then calmly say, I'll finish my thought, and then I'd love to hear your perspective. Now, instead of losing credibility, you've gained respect. You've shown composure. You've shown leadership. That's exactly what Damon learned. Responding is power. And here's the truth. Communication isn't just about what comes out of your mouth. It's about the space between stimulus and response. That little moment where you get to choose. That's the hinge on which influence swings. Damon had to practice this every single day in the most high-stakes environment you can imagine. And if he could do it there, you can do it anywhere, at home, at work, in traffic, in conflict, because confidence in communication isn't about who can shout the loudest. It's not about who can react the fastest. It's about who can slow down, stay calm, and respond with intention. So let me ask you, in your life, are you reacting or are you responding? Because the answer to that question might just determine not only the quality of your communication, but the quality of your leadership, your relationships, and your influence. One of the things Damon told me was this in prison: nobody respects the loudest guy in the room. If you were yelling, if you were constantly trying to shout everyone else, you weren't powerful, you were predictable, and predictable meant vulnerable. See, volume doesn't equal strength. It never did. And yet, out here in the free world, so many of us still think the louder we are, the more confident we'll look. We raise our voices in arguments, in meetings, even with the people we love. We think if we just push our words out harder, people will finally hear us. But here's the truth Damon learned: people don't remember the loudest words. They remember the clearest ones. Clarity beats volume every single time. Think about the people who've made the biggest impact on you. Were they the ones screaming their message at you? Or were they the ones who spoke with such simplicity and precision that their words stuck to your bones? In prison, Damon learned this the hard way. Loudness made you a target. Loudness drew unnecessary heat, but clarity, that made people stop and pay attention. If you could communicate with clarity, people knew you weren't wasting time, you weren't bluffing, and you weren't weak. You were deliberate. And that same principle plays out every day in your life. In your workplace, clarity is what cuts through the noise. At home, clarity is what keeps you from spiraling into endless arguments. With your friends, clarity is what makes your boundaries and values undeniable. Here's the mistake most people make: they confuse being heard with being understood. They think if they can just crank up the volume, eventually their words will land. But the louder you get, the more people tune you out. Clarity, on the other hand, makes your words undeniable. So how do you practice clarity? You strip the fluff. You cut out the ahs and I thinks and sorry buts. You stop stacking disclaimers on top of your sentences. You make your words lean, direct, and purposeful. Instead of saying, sorry, I might be wrong, but I just feel like maybe we could try this idea, if that's okay. You say, here's my idea. I believe it could work because of X, Y, and Z. That's clarity. That's strength. And let me tell you something, it's not about the decibels. It's about the delivery. Damon could have screamed all day long and lost respect, but one clear, calm statement carried more power than 1,000 shouted words. So when you're in a heated conversation, when you're in a meeting, when you're in a tough moment with your spouse or your kids, remember, it's not about how loud you get. It's about how clear you are. Clarity is confidence. Clarity is authority. Clarity is what gets remembered long after volume fades away. And the next time you feel that urge to raise your voice, I want you to catch yourself. Don't get louder, get clearer, because that's where the real power lies. Damon noticed, inside prison and outside, is that the people who lose their power fastest are the ones who speak like they need permission to exist. And maybe you've caught yourself doing it too. It sounds like this: sorry, can I just say something real quick? Or, I don't know if this makes sense, but, or, this might be a stupid idea, but. You hear that. That's permission seeking. That's you handing your authority away before you've even opened your mouth. Now in prison, nobody asked for permission to speak. You either owned your voice or you got drowned out. Damon learned that if you hesitated, if you prefaced your words with apology, if you sounded like you didn't believe yourself, you invited people to dismiss you. And once they did, it was nearly impossible to earn that respect back. And here's the truth: outside prison, it works the same. At work, when you hedge your words with constant apologies, you shrink in the eyes of your coworkers. In relationships, when you ask for permission to express your feelings, you weaken your boundaries. With your friends, when you preface every idea with, "This is probably dumb," you train them not to take you seriously. So why do we do it? Because deep down, most of us are afraid of being wrong, afraid of being judged, afraid of not being liked. We think if we soften our words, if we package them in apologies, we'll be safer. But here's what Damon had to learn, and here's what you need to hear: playing small doesn't keep you safe. It just keeps you invisible. Permission seeking kills confidence. And here's the kicker: it doesn't actually stop people from judging you. People will still have opinions, but when you water down your voice, when you frame it like it doesn't matter, you guarantee they won't respect it. So what's the alternative? You stop asking for permission and you start claiming space. That doesn't mean you bulldoze. It doesn't mean you ignore other people. It means you own your perspective without apology. Instead of saying, "Sorry, I just wanted to add something," you say, "Here's my perspective." Instead of saying, "This might be stupid, but," you say, "Here's my idea, and here's why it could work." Instead of saying, "Is it okay if I say something?" you say, "Here's what I think we should consider." That's not arrogance, that's confidence. That's not disrespect, that's self-respect. And if you're sitting there thinking, "But Jefferson, what if I'm wrong?" Let me tell you, being wrong doesn't make you weak. Speaking like you're unsure before you've even tried, that's what makes you weak. You'd be amazed how many people will follow your lead if you just stop apologizing for existing. Damon survived 7 years in a place where hesitation could cost you respect, safety, and influence. And if he could learn to speak without asking permission there, then you can do it in your next staff meeting, in your next tough conversation at home, in your next negotiation. Because the truth is, every time you preface your words with apology, you teach people how to treat you. You teach them not to take you seriously. But when you stop seeking permission, when you stand on your words with confidence, you teach people to respect you. So let me give you this challenge for the next week. Cut out the apologies, cut out the justs, cut out the "if that's okay with you," and watch how the room shifts. Watch how people lean in. Watch how your influence grows, not because you got louder, not because you got sharper, but because you finally stopped shrinking. Damon tells this story everywhere he goes, and every time I hear it, I can't shake it. He says prison was the boiling pot of water, and in that boiling pot, people either turned into the carrot that gets soft and falls apart, or the egg that hardens and becomes bitter. But I learned I could be the coffee bean, the one that doesn't get changed by the water, but changes the water around it. Think about that for a second. Prison, the harshest, most unforgiving environment you can imagine. A place designed to break you down. And Damon realized he didn't have to be a product of it. He could be the one who transformed it. And how did he do that? With his words. See, Damon figured out that communication isn't just about getting through a conversation. It's not just about defending yourself or making a point. It's about creating an atmosphere. Every word you say is either raising the temperature of the room or lowering it. It's either adding trust or tearing it down. It's either poisoning the water or flavoring it. That's why the lessons he learned about silence, listening, responding, clarity, and confidence aren't just personal tricks, they're environmental shifts. They don't just change how you talk, they change how people feel when they're around you. And you know this is true. You've walked into rooms where one person's presence lifted everyone's energy, where their calmness brought stability, where their clarity cut through chaos. And you've walked into rooms where one person's words made the air heavy, made everyone shut down, made the whole environment toxic. That's the power of communication. It's not just about words, it's about the atmosphere those words create. Damon learned that even behind prison walls, he could choose to be the coffee bean. He could choose words that built respect instead of tearing it down. words that diffused tension instead of inflaming it, words that inspired trust instead of fear. And those choices didn't just change his relationships, they changed the environment itself. So let me bring that back to you. Right now, in your workplace, in your home, in your friendships, you are the environment shaper. The way you communicate is setting the tone. When you choose silence over babble, you teach people that your words have weight. When you listen deeply, you show people they matter. When you respond instead of react, you create calm in chaos. When you choose clarity over volume, you become the authority in the room. When you stop asking for permission to speak, you model self-respect that others can follow. And when you do all of that together, you don't just change conversations, you change the culture around you. That's the lesson Damon walked out of prison with. And it's the same lesson you can take into every space you walk into tomorrow. Because here's the truth: your words are not small, they're not casual, they're not disposable. Your words are atmosphere, your words are climate, your words are culture. And the question you need to answer is this: are your words just reacting to the environment around you, or are they transforming it? Damon chose to be the coffee bean. So can you? So here's my challenge to you: stop underestimating your words. Stop thinking communication is just about getting through a conversation. Start realizing it's about changing the water you're in. Every silence, every sentence, every response you choose is shaping the room, shaping the people, shaping the future. And when you finally own that, when you finally step into the truth that your words can transform environments, you'll stop chasing confidence and start creating it. Not just for yourself, but for everyone around you. That's what 7 years in prison taught Damon West about communication. And that's what you and I can learn from him today. We are the environment. We are the coffee bean. We are the change.